Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. For those that walked into theaters to see Robocop expecting an opera of in-your-face violence, were not disappointed at all. Robocop executed satire with as much skill as it had with explosions. The movie stars Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Ronnie Cox, Kurtwood Smith, and Miguel Ferrer. It's set in crime-ridden Detroit in the near future, and it centers on a police officer named Alex Murphy, who is murdered by a gang of criminals and subsequently revived by the mega corporation Omni Consumer Products as a cyborg law enforcer, Robocop. Unaware of his former life, this cop executes a brutal campaign against crime while coming to terms with the lingering fragments of his humanity. The idea for the film exists solely because a guy named Ed hated his job. Ed Neumeier was so restless as a Universal Pictures story editor that he began to toy with an idea of his own about a robotic police officer. Film student Michael Miner had a similar notion that he called Super Cop. The two brought their ideas together on a script entitled Robocop, The Future of Law Enforcement. Despite its satirical bent, the title seemed so ludicrous that they had trouble garnering interest until Orion Pictures came around. They had just had the mega hit Terminator from 1984, and they decided to run with this script. While Neumeier said that being on the set of Blade Runner gave him inspiration for the idea of robots in law enforcement, Robocop's stoic mannerisms and single-minded actions owes a considerable debt to Judge Dredd, the British comic book cop who presides over a diseased urban landscape. The production design artist even borrowed heavily from Dredd's helmet before settling on the sleek suit that you see in the movie. In 1984, the writer decided to see if he could spin the story into a comic book to use as a launching pad for a feature. He then ran the idea by Stan Lee. Before Lee could commit one way or the other to it, he and the writer attended an early screening of The Terminator, which also had a humanoid as the main character. After seeing this screening, Lee told the writer, "Boy, you're never going to top that," and he went on to pass on this idea. Peter Weller became a mime for his role as Robocop. Knowing that the suit would limit his facial expressions, Orion Pictures executives suggested that he seek out a mime coach in order to become more physically expressive. He found one, and the two worked for months on fluid movements that incorporated dance training into it also. The actor even suited up in total football gear and walked around Central Park to get a feel for moving with added bulk. But unfortunately, he could barely move once he put the real suit on. After many design debates with the director, effect artist Rob Bottin was unable to deliver the suit until the day that they were to begin shooting with it. It took Weller hours to squeeze himself into it. Cumbersome beyond his expectations, all of his work with the mime had completely gone out the window. Production was then halted for several days so that he could grow comfortable with his movements in the suit. While the film was set in Detroit to reflect the collapse of the city's automobile industry, it didn't do much shooting there at all, as location scouts determined that the Motor City skyline didn't look appropriately futuristic. Instead, the production was based primarily in Dallas, where summer temperatures regularly exceeded 100 degrees. Weller could lose 8 pounds in a single day of shooting. Much of his time between takes was spent hydrating or having cool air hoses stuffed in the suit. The actor also instructed the producers to issue a memo to the cast and crew, advising them that no one should refer to him by his real name, that he preferred to be called by his character's name of Murphy or Robo. But a lot of the cast completely ignored this memo and called him by his real name. The actor, who had handled weapons as a teenager, was able to twirl handguns, but he said that trying to spin this piece was like trying to whirl half of a baseball bat. In addition to having a very narrow field of vision and practically sautéing in his own sweat, the actor Weller also had trouble hearing in this cumbersome suit. For the shootout with drug dealers, he decided to set the mood by putting on headphones attached to a Walkman and playing Peter Gabriel's Red Rain. He called this wildly, psychotically enjoyable. Realizing that the film was running behind schedule and over budget, the director and the producer purposely did not film one very crucial scene, Officer Murphy's death. When production wrapped, they went back to L.A. and grimly informed the executives that Murphy's death had not been filmed. After watching the footage that they did film, the executives were so astonished by the performances that they gave the filmmakers more money, and they filmed the scene in a redecorated warehouse in L.A. For the attempted assault scene against the girl, the writer originally had Robocop shoot past the victim's cheek, hitting and killing the assaulter. While they were getting ready to shoot the scene as it was scripted, the director noticed that the girl, played by Donna Keegan, had her legs spread apart. This gave him a grand idea to have Robocop shoot between her legs and hit the assaulter in the crotch. The writer of the screenplay loved the idea, so that was how they shot that famous scene. Go back and watch Robocop. It was a popular film when it came out. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.